So subprime brains. Once again, a run on the banks once a run on the banks begins, it gains momentum. It's like a house of cards, one after another, banks go down. Bankers who invested in less than prime loans were stupid. Absolutely stupid. And this mess was foreseeable. Subprime loans met subprime bankers. Subprime mentally. Now it is all subprime trash. Bad loans equal disaster. Now I say, which way do you see it? For more than 30 years, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have been bleeding billions of dollars due to the decision to allow people who were bad credit risks, including extremely bad credit risks, to borrow money for new homes. These corporations hid their losses from the public. Both of the top executives cooked the books. That gives you an answer about what happens when someone like the government gives carte blanche to people, men, women, corporations, to loan money with the government to guarantee it. So government and business, bah. So they create a financial morass. The credit card industry contributed a great deal to this financial morass. Visa and MasterCard bear as much responsibility as anyone. That includes Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all those big banks that issue credit cards. They've mulched the public for years now, and they've mulched the merchants as well. Citibank is a culprit. Bank of America, Wells Fargo. It's a big mess. The end is not in sight, and more shocks will come. The three financial programs that led to this mess were passed by the Democrats. I say mostly the socialists among the Democrats, and it seems we are getting more and more of them. And it proves the fallacy of the division of wealth or balance out the wealth theories. That's what you call guaranteed stupidity. A government guarantee helped many people buy their homes, but they couldn't guarantee against stupidity. They did try to do so, and they failed, naturally. Now, we're showing the failure. What happens when stupidity meets the government and Congress? Well, I call this one horse. Oh, what is that up there? Well, you'll have to read that for yourself. Ever see seagulls diving around a garbage dump? That's what buying subprime debt was like. Piles of it. And this is now a big mess courtesy of the U.S. Congress and one of the leading congressmen to wish this upon the public or foist this off on the public was Senator Dodd. Barney Frank, too, as I mentioned before. Yes, Americans owned their own homes, many of them for the first time. Great. But then the bubble burst. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac equals horse manure, equals bad loans. You find it in the papers every day. So I call this weak-kneed. Liberals blame the greed on Wall Street, and this may well be part of the story. But strong oversight of the loan industry and the housing mortgage industry would have been much better for all concerned. It began with the Credit Recovery Act. That was a new route for weak-kneed bankers to take. Weak-kneed bankers who were afraid to protest, to stand up and shout to Congress, this is wrong. We have all these bankers clear across the U.S. who are weak-kneed and afraid to say, this is wrong. And it was wrong. So our cost today, via the headlines that you read a few days ago, is $700 billion. We're bailing out. Really, we're bailing out Congress because the problem was deep within the ranks of congressmen. So they can't say that we're bailing out Wall Street. We're bailing out Congress. Society's ills cannot be cured by violating good accounting principles. Now we have $700 billion of social funding to recover. Those who acted properly with their finances suffer along with those who did not. Many people are losing their savings that's invested in stock. Washington Mutual, for example, went down the tube. Along with that, the life savings of many investors. Liberals, though, will never change. They'll try it all over again. They won't learn. They believe that there's a way for government to support everyone, foolish or not. Now, this slide I dedicate to my good friend over there at the Santa Barbara Bank and Trust, David Spainhour. And I'll explain this slide a little later, but the MDR stands for Merchants Discount Rate, because merchants and small businesses are all involved in this now. And they're going to suffer along with those who have lost their life savings. Junk is still junk. There is no easy path through life, but the liberals always want to grab onto someone's coattails. Fannie and Freddie were social experiments at your expense or our expense, experiments to see if they could provide homes for everyone, whether they could afford them or whether they deserved them or not. The subprime loans, like the junk bonds of 20 or 30 years ago, went the same way, straight down the tube. Remember, junk bonds were subprime also. Junk bonds, that was the name for them, and they bundled them up and sold them to people until the whole thing burst. And one or two people went to prison. And some people felt sorry for them. Some of their friends felt extremely sorry. But junk is junk. Financially, if you have a bad investment, hope, faith, prayer is not really going to change it and make it good. So many small businesses won't be able to weather this either, because big banks equal big crooks. And they're still sucking the small businessmen dry, sucking them out of their profits. And I say they're enslaved owners of the businesses, like here in Solvang. They'll have to cinch their belts to get through this cycle of debt. Bank of America is among the crooks as well as Wells Fargo. And by the way, Bank of America, on behalf of their new friend and partner, they took over, of course, Countrywide Mortgage. They're paying out billions. The biggest, you have to read it and study it.